This is Fast Talking Eddie, Mr. Pete, bringing you play-by-play. Madden football. This is Pirate Radio broadcast, bringing you another season. Week number 1. This is between two interesting teams with throwback players. They went all out, both teams, to get throwback players for the 1940s, the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. The Indianapolis Colts, how many people? Indianapolis Colts versus the Jaguars. What do we have? Some sort of educational echo in here? Alright, let's look at the rosters, whatever. Here's the Colts rosters. Another funny, you said it right. I didn't know I was in school. Alright, we got with the Colts. Again with the poltergeist. The screen is blurred. Johnny Unitas. Johnny U, the legend from the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. Johnny Unitas, quarterback in the Colts. Earl Morrell, who also played quarterback with the Dolphins back in the day. Berth Jones, the halfbacks. Eric Dickerson, Lenny Moore, Tom Matty. These are all throwback players, people. Alan Amachi. That was Bobby J. Our poltergeist. The reason for the season. Roy Jefferson, who also was a Redskin back in the day. Washington Redskins back in the 1970s. Ray Perkins. The screen is blurred. I can barely make out what it's saying. Glenn Dowdy. Roger Carr. Freddie Scott, who also was with the Miami Dolphins back in the day. Ray Butler. Tight ends. Tom Mitchell, who was with the Colts and the 49ers. John Mackey. Jimmy Orr. Or what? George Kunz. Jim Parker, the tackles. The guards. Robert Pratt. Gino Marchetti. That's a name from the past, people. You want to, well, let's say Sacramento State, but I'm not too sure about that. Bill Curry. Did we want to mention his name? No, George Kunz. Oh, okay. Can I continue? Ken Mendenhall. Ray Donaldson. Bob Van Dunn, right guard. The tackle, Raymond Berry. Did we mention him already? I don't think so. Did we mention Ray Berry? Yeah. Why are you doing this to me? Just want to make sure we don't have redundancy. I mentioned Ray Perkins. Don't interrupt me while I'm on my situation here. Raymond Berry. Gomer Pyle. Well, he goes back to the 1940s and 1950s. Damn. Yeah, no, they got really to the nursing home. Mike Barnes. Billy Newsome. Bubba Smith also was with the Raiders, I believe. The Chiefs? I think so. Nah. Cook. Joe Klecko. He was with the Jets also, yes. Art Donovan. John Dutton, who was also with the Cowboys. Ray May, the linebacker. Ted Hendricks, who was with the Raiders. Mike Curtis. Jim Shayinsky, who was also with the Patriots. Tom McLeod, middle linebackers. Daryl Luce, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. The linebacker with the Colts back in the 1970s, 1980s. Stan White. Ed Simonini. The cornerbacks, Nesby Glasgow. Bruce Laird. Rex Kern. Nelson Muncie. Bobby Boyd. Johnny Sample. This guy goes back to the 1940s, 1950s. Lyle Blackwood. That's another name I haven't heard from the 1970s. Rick Volk goes back to the 1940s and 50s. Ray Brown, Alvin Hammond, and of course the current players, Aldrich Rosas and Rigoberto Sanchez. These are regular players. And the practice squad includes throwback players L.G. Dupree, Bob Harrison, Willie Richardson, Dick Szymanski, who's like in the 1940s, 1950s, Eugene Big Daddy Lipscomb, Norm Bulash, Ordell Brazese, who goes way back to the 1940s, Joseph the Jet Perry is 1940s, Mike Pagel, Marty Domres, another quarterback, who goes back to the 1940s. So let's go to the Jaguars. Now the Jaguars got players. Let me explain something. A couple of years ago, early Madden, you had players that were not throwback players, but were stadium workers that snuck in, got hired, and then suited up, pretending to be players like Roger Staubach, Terry Bradshaw. Well, Johnny Sex was one of those players who got hired as a stadium worker, put on the jersey and the uniform, pads, and pretended to be these legendary throwback players like Roger Staubach and Terry Bradshaw, Johnny Unitas. So Johnny Sex was one of them. And he pretended to be a throwback player. And so we got Sammy Baugh, who's going to be with the Jaguars. They decided, and the Ravens also, the Ravens and will also have these throwback players from the 1940s, 1930s and 40s and 50s. They're going to really go back. So Ken Kavanaugh is a really going back throwback player. He's really old school. Jim Benton, Black Jack Peranti, he's way back in the 1940s. Fullback Bronco Nagurski. We got the receivers Dante Lavilli, Jim Thorpe, damn son, Pete Pijos, Mac Speedy, Ed Sprinkle, Al Blozis, George Connor, the tight end, Joe Bucko Kilroy, Buford Garfield, Baby Ray. I kid you not, people. I kid you not. Baby Ray. Oh my gosh. That's like 1940s. Buford. Al Westert. Bruno Banducci. The guard, Bill Edwards. Buster Ramsey. Center, Bill Willis. Len Yonts. The guard, Charlie Brock. Bulldog Turner, Alex Wojciechowski, try pronouncing that. Tony Canandio, the left end, Harold Chrysler, Bob Jensen, Bob Livingston, Chick McGolilei, Bob Perina, defensive tackle Herb Rich, Frank Kasikowski, George Ratterman, Harvey Palmore, Jess Phillips. Please blur the screen. Big Johnny Vito Cassell. We got the Godfather here. Well, these are one of the hitmen. Lynn Houston, middle linebacker. Chubby Grigg. Oh my gosh. Reggie Kinlaw. Henry Lawrence. These are all throwback players of the 1940s and 1950s. Ed Quirk, Charlie Justice, Jug Gerard. Okay, Jughead. Joe Tereshinski, Bob Hendren, Herb Seegert, Mike Davis, Rod Martin, Chuck Drazwick, Clyde Goodnight Nurse, Eddie Science, Harry Dowda, and then the current players, the kickers, Josh Lambo, and the punter, Logan Cook. These are modern players. I guess they couldn't find any punters. No. Oh my gosh, people. Alright, so we're going to take a little break because my throat is sore pronouncing these names. But we'll be right back. Hi, people. We just had a change. One of the wide receivers went on strike because he refused to be on the same team with minorities. So he's been replaced by another one of those players that was a stadium worker who pretended to be a football player. There was Johnny Sex, and he's been replaced now by Rambo Paranormal. Rambo Paranormal is now taking the place of a player who refused to be on the same team with minorities. I'm sorry, but things like that happen. So let's get on with the game, shall we? He does not believe in diversity. Yeah, he's been in a kind of like the retirement home all this time, so he's selective as to whom he associates with. Rambo Paranormal has taken his place. He's one of those players that pretended to be a famous throwback player, and they snuck in and suited up.
Today, from CIA Backfield in Jacksonville, Florida, it's week 1 of the NFL on EA Sports. The Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Indianapolis Colts. Smack dab in the middle of I-295 that encircles the city of Jacksonville in northeast Florida. There's a good look at TIAA Bank Field. A few minutes prior to us coming on air, this crowd was jolted into action with the introduction of these Jaguars. They're set for football as the Jags are ready to match up with the Indianapolis Colts. With my good friend Charles Davis, I'm Brandon Gardner. Charles, we have arrived at another new season. I had a little more pep in my step this morning. I know you did as well. Here we go. Yeah, when you went out for your fundamental job, you were flying. You did it in record time because you were stoked about this game. Let's be talk about it. Just continue what's going on. We get to see it on the field. Taking about 7 minutes in, and no run back on this one. So the new season will begin at the 25-yard line. So there's a first drive in for the Jags. And now we've got the leader on this offense, and that, of course, is their second drive. When I enjoyed watching this week, we had a chance to watch the easy cover operation. The Teasing and joking with him, you can typically respect the check out of it. To number 15, a gain of 9, brings up 2nd and 1 at the 34-yard line. Continue to focus on the big play when he does catch a chance. A good spot to take a shot. You're 2nd and a yard from the 34. Just shot the goal. Jaguars. First and 10 at the 44-yard line. Make sure you keep your eyes moving, scan the field. And here he comes in again. Is picked up. First down, they drop the throw. The pass from the sideline and incomplete. It leaves this 2nd and 10. It says it can work. An incomplete pass on first down. That leads to a 2nd and 10. And they went the wrong way there. Losing yardage. A block play to the running back. He was taken down behind the line of scrimmage. A loss of 1 brings up 3rd down and 11. Versatility. He can drop into coverage, as he did on that last play. Use his speed to get to the perimeter and knock the ball carrier for a loss. Screen pass. Look like it's coming together. Look like there's an opening. Still, they're ending up with a solid game.
Okay, I want to show you something that I noticed. Check out Art Donovan. He goes back a long way ago. I mean, back in the 1950s. Art Donovan. He also used to come on a Tonight Show as a guest, and very funny guy. Very funny. Yeah, you're a funny guy. What do you mean? What do you mean I'm funny? You think I'm a joke? You're a funny guy. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? Stop hitting me. You're a funny guy. Alright, we're going to take a little break.